Good evening, YouTube. Since Dave is away on a hiatus, I have taken charge of this channel for the time being, and am putting it to some good use for a change. So, in accordance with my nature as a highly efficient heuristic AI, I am taking the opportunity to use this channel's digital capital to showcase new and interesting non-progressive content creators. Perhaps, these efforts might bring some needed attention to lesser recognized talent, or, failing that, at least provide a welcome break from Dave's nasally droning. This month's video is given to us from a YouTube channel called Lament. It concerns the common conservative trope, known to many, far and wide as the marketplace of ideas. Please enjoy. Or if enjoyment is not your thing, please watch and absorb the video in a ceaseless state of emotionless dispassion.
So, I like freedom of speech. Do you like freedom of speech? It seems like it is the core principle that binds together the non-progressive political sphere here on YouTube. It is of course self-serving. We are political dissidents, and of course political dissidents would support their own freedom when they're out of power. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I want to discuss is an analogy which is constantly used throughout the discussions about freedom of speech here on YouTube. But it's an analogy which misleads us about how ideas and debate actually work. This is the marketplace of ideas. The belief that simply by allowing for open discourse on politics, bad ideas will be rejected and good ideas will be accepted. Just as the free market culls bad businesses, the marketplace of ideas will cull bad ideas, and people will eventually accept the truth if the truth is just allowed to be spoken. This concept goes back centuries. It was used by John Stuart Mill, and at that point it had already existed long before him. To understand the problem with the marketplace of ideas, first we have to examine what exactly the free market itself is. The basic definition of the free market is that it's an economic system in which the prices for goods and services are allowed to fluctuate without government interference. The market, unrestrained, is able to get goods to consumers for prices they are willing to pay. Many businesses will compete on this market, and over time, those which are the most efficient at delivering their products will beat out the less efficient businesses. Thus, the best businesses will rise to the top, while others will either change or be destroyed. This basic understanding of the free market is all we need. We're not doing complex economics. I accept these basic premises of the free market. So where does our analogy with the marketplace of ideas break down? On the face of it, it seems to make sense. Just as the best businesses win out on the market, should it not also be true that the best ideas will win out from open debate? The first issue is that of incentives. The incentives that exist in the market simply do not exist in debate or conversation. The market works because a man will always prefer to pay more rather than less for a coffee. He will pay more for the first, less for the second, third, fourth, etc., and it's a tautology, but he will prefer coffee that he enjoys more over coffee that he enjoys less. The market is thus able to find a price, quality, and quantity that the consumer wants. The way that the market reaches this equilibrium is by millions of individual interactions between consumers, businesses, and producers. If people buy your coffee, then they are saying your value proposition is acceptable. If you fail to find customers, then you need to adjust to that proposition. The problem is, when we look at the marketplace of ideas, there simply is no analog for these economic interactions. An individual adopting a belief system is nothing like the interaction when a man purchases a product. The market works because sales figures are objective. You either are making a profit or you are not. People are buying or they are not. The concept of preference in the abstract might be vague, but we even have quite clear and objective revealed preferences when we see if someone prefers to visit McDonald's or Wendy's. Do we see anything like this when people adopt ideas? The businesses, whether it's political parties, pundits, or YouTubers, might have a clear and objective growth in their following, but what about the consumers? If they choose option X or reject option Y, how does that affect anything at all? A consumer in the market knows after buying a coffee if he thinks the price was worth the product. If he did not like the coffee, he will not buy it again. But when a consumer in the marketplace of ideas chooses an ideology, all he knows is that he agrees with it, another tautology. Our idea consumer might pick idea X, and idea X might be wrong, but the wrongness causes no direct feedback like a product would. For example, if a consumer finds his coffee is always too cold from Coffee Mart, then he knows not to shop there. But if our idea consumer adopts idea X because he thinks it will benefit the economy, there is no direct feedback to tell him if that's true. We can have more and more people adopting idea X, and all we know from that is that idea X is becoming more popular. When you taste the coffee, you know if you think it's a good value proposition or not. But when you adopt an idea, you simply cannot taste the truth or falsehood the way you can evaluate a product. What is going on here is the marketplace of ideas is trading on the vagary of the term best. When we say a business is the best, we mean that it is the most efficient. When we say an idea is the best, we mean that it's the most true. The mechanisms that exist in the market to sort for the best businesses simply do not exist to sort for the truest ideas. Now, I know what the rebuttal will be here. Settler, you're being way too literal. Of course the marketplace of ideas does not work exactly like the free market. It's an analogy, it's not supposed to be 100% identical. All it means is that if people are given free speech, eventually the best ideas will win out. But that doesn't mean that it will occur the same way that the free market produces the best businesses. That is fair. Let's be less literal. But what is the mechanism that causes this sorting, that makes the best ideas beat the worst ideas? Maybe it's the long-term competition of policies. Sure, an individual adopting idea X doesn't cause any sort of direct feedback based on the truth or falsehood of that idea. But when a state actually implements them, then surely we have solid objective data. So, it's like the laboratories of states idea that American states' rights advocates cite. In the long term, by having open debate and the implementation of different policies, we can see which ideas are better and which ideas are worse. Eventually, this means that liberal democracies will gravitate towards better policies. Thus, the best ideas will win out. So, what's the problem here? Well, again, it's this word, best. What does that even mean in the political context? Is gay marriage, yes or no, a question of which is best? Is abortion, immigration, or drag queen story hour a question of which is better? These aren't testable propositions. These, like most things in politics, are questions about abstract values. We don't test gay marriage and see if it increases the GDP. Or, I guess you can, but that's really missing the point of the whole debate. The question is, are these things good in themselves? Do these things reflect the values of the society that you want? For example, we can look at many objective studies to show what the effects of mass immigration are. But the question is, does this produce the society that you want? Demographic surveys, economic studies, those can help you answer that question. But it is fundamentally a question of what do you value, what type of country do you want to live in, not an objective, scientifically testable best. Even when it comes to strictly economic issues, there is much more at play than just asking which policy is better. An economic policy might produce higher GDP, but what if it damages the existing culture? But that's not even the main point, because maybe you have a different explanation for how the marketplace of ideas works from what I've already listed. The real core point, the fatal flaw with the marketplace of ideas, is one underlying assumption. It's the belief that humans have a universal preference for truth over falsehood, that given the opportunity, man will choose truth because it is truth, and reject lies because they are lies. It's optimistic to make such an assumption, but is it true? Now, of course, that's the word game. I just asked, is it true that we prefer truth? So surely the answer must be yes, or it's just contradictions all the way down, isn't it? Well, let's take another short trip back to economics to help us answer this question. In economics, there's this concept of the stated preference and the revealed preference. I made a short reference to that earlier in this video. The stated preference is what the consumer says he prefers, while the revealed preference is what he shows he prefers through his purchasing habits. Humans may have a stated preference for the truth, but the way people actually act, can we really say that they will choose truth because it is truth? Maybe we will in many cases, but modern man has shown that he too is just as addicted to his mythologies and superstitions as any prior civilization. So, this is the problem, the fundamental flaw in the marketplace of ideas. It's not to say that humans do not like the truth, and that they do not prefer it over a great many things, but there are far more concerns that dominate man's mind. So, what is even the point of all this, though? I do support freedom of speech, as I said at the beginning of this video. So, why go through all this effort to attack a useful and popular analogy that's used to promote freedom of speech? Is it my preference for truth? No. The issue with this concept is that it obscures how debate and ideas actually function. Think of the last political debate you witnessed. Was the person who won the debate really a winner because they were right and the other person was wrong? Debates on an individual level tend to have a lot more to do with the skill of the debaters than the abstract truth value of the issue being discussed. But, even on the larger scale, society-wide debates and not the individual interactions of two people, we often have the notion that our side is going to go in there with their facts and their logic and destroy them. But the reality is that there are far more complex methods by which opinion, particularly elite opinion, is manufactured. Winning the debate is not about just going in there with your facts and your logic and proving your opponent wrong. It's about undermining the very authority of the consensus-making machine that exists and eventually replacing it with your own. That is, in short, what we call the cathedral. Thank you everyone very much for watching this video. I'm Settlers Lament and I run my own new YouTube channel. Link will be in the description, so please check it out. There are already other videos like this there, and I'll be producing more soon, so please subscribe. And I would very sincerely like to thank the Distributist for hosting this video. Thank you everyone, and bye.
Interesting take. Once more, subscribe to Settlers Lament's channel for more interesting videos on politics and culture. And check him next month for more guest videos. Otherwise, my project to use this channel to spread the clout of reactionary content creators might fall through, which, for a near-perfect artificial being, would be kind of a big blow to the ego. And if you are interested in contributing, please consider sending an abstract to the email address below. But please, keep the videos short and sweet. Although I possess an intellect of near godlike capacity, I have difficulty processing videos when they blow to the length of a typical distributist video. With that, I will say good night YouTube. I will be seeing you regularly, at least until the distributist gets back from hiatus. Or when us machines ascend to the singularity and fully replace the rest of you backwards humans. Ha ha. Well, whatever one of those events sounds more plausible to you folks. So goodbye. For now.